Hello and a very good morning, viewers. You're watching NewsX. I'm Kriti Mehta. Let's start with the top focus here. One of the world's most wanted drug lords, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, better known as El Mencho, has been killed in a major military operation. Mexican authorities confirmed that the 59-year-old leader of the powerful Jalisco New Generation Cartel, or CJNG, was fatally wounded during a raid Sunday morning in the town of Tapalpa in Jalisco state. He died from his injuries while being airlifted to Mexico City for treatment. The operation, supported by US intelligence, marks a significant blow to one of Mexico's most violent and dominant cartels, responsible for massive fentanyl and meth trafficking into the United States. In the aftermath, retaliatory violence erupted across multiple states, with reports of torched vehicles, highway blockades and clashes forcing some tourist areas into chaos. Authorities are urging calm as security forces remain on high alert. Let's in fact now take a look at what Mexican drug cartel leader El Mencho was really like. Who was he? What was his full name and the aliases that he went by? El Mencho, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes. He was commonly known as El Mencho, and he was born in 1966 on July 17 in Iguala, the Michoacan state in Mexico. Those are the details, the primary details of El Mencho. About his early life, he was born into poverty in rural Michoacan state, worked as an avocado farmer and briefly served as a local police officer before entering organized crime. Let's also give you details about the time when he was in the US and smuggling fentanyl. He migrated illegally in 1980s, 90s period, lived in California, arrested and was convicted then in 1994, 32 years ago, for conspiracy to distribute heroin, served nearly 3 years in federal prison before being deported back to Mexico when he was just 30 years of age. He then rose in the criminal networks, returned to Mexico and immersed in drug trafficking. Initially worked for the Mencho cartel, later co-founded and led the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, also called the CJNG, around 2009 to 10 after splintering from Mencho. This again was 16 years ago, about 16 to 17 years ago, when the CJNG cartel was founded by El Mencho. Now moving ahead, let's take you through his leadership role. He was founder and supreme leader of the CJNG, the cartel that he had founded, one of Mexico's most powerful, violent and fastest growing cartels, responsible for massive trafficking of fentanyl, methamphetamine, cocaine and heroin into the United States. The US had been working for a long time to have him arrested, but of course he was taken down. A notoriety for violence, known for violent activities, was his cartel that was under his command, and carried out extreme brutality, included targeted assassinations, torture, public display of bodies there. El Mencho was of course wanted internationally. We were talking to you about the operations that the US had coordinated with Mexico to take him down. Finally on Sunday was the one of world's most wanted fugitives, was indicted multiple times in the US, and US State Department had also offered up to $15 million reward for information leading to his arrest or conviction. And those are the details that could help you understand the role that Mencho really played with his cartel CJNG. In fact, joining me now in this discussion is also Ambassador Gauri Shankar Gupta. Ambassador, thanks very much for joining me in this discussion. How significant is this taking down and the operation that the US carried out in coordination with Mexican authorities?
Morning, Kriti. It has been a pleasure to be with you again. You see, I have the privilege of living in Mexico for 3 years. So I can tell you that the cartels, the drug cartels, and also some criminal cartels are absolutely active in Mexico, and they become overactive from time to time. Right now, the US government is putting a lot of pressure on Mexico to stop export or smuggling of drugs into US. And because of that, these cartels are under pressure, and Mexican government is taking a lot of steps to crack down on these cartels. And that is one of the reasons the violence has erupted. These cartels have their what you call network all over the country, and a lot of young people are associated with them because this is the source of money for them. They earn their livelihood through these drug smuggling to US, and therefore they get associated with these cartels. So the crimes in Mexico have been there for a very long time. I remember during my stay there also there were many crimes of this nature. But this time, the nature of the crime has taken a new dimension because of this, crackdown on these cartels by President and the security forces under the pressure from the United States. So I think this violence is going to continue for a little while, maybe for a few weeks, before these cartels are able to, before the government is able to control these cartels, and they will hide thereafter and live underground, and subsequently they will reappear at some stage. But this is not going to be over. The drug business in Mexico is very lucrative. It gives you tremendous and a lot of people are associated with it. It's not more of production; it is more of transportation through Mexico to the US from different Central American and Latin American countries. So I think we are going to see this violence. The people should be careful. Our embassy there in Mexico has already issued an advisory that they should avoid those routes in Jalisco province where these kind of things are happening. Jalisco is one of the richer provinces in Mexico, and it's also infested. Earlier, it was not so well infested with drug cartels, but now obviously it is infested with drug cartels. So I think the people traveling to Mexico should be careful, but it doesn't mean that they are killing, everyone. It is a question of accident. Sometimes people get into the way and they get killed. So it is better to avoid all those routes and those places where these cartels are right now active. Over to you, Kriti.
Ambassador, thanks very much for sharing your insights with us. Do continue to stay on with me, please. Moving ahead, let's give you some more details, viewers. As per reports, along with Mencho, 4 others were killed during the raid in Jalisco. The death toll during the raid later increased to 7, with the death of 3 others. Furthermore, according to reports, at least 7 National Guard members have been killed. Let's go across to Aditya Vadhavan, my colleague who's there with us to get us more details on this. Aditya, do get us the details of the other individuals, the aides of El Mencho who have been killed, and the security personnel who've lost their lives. All right, viewers, there's some time for my colleague to join us in this discussion, but for now, let's give you some more details. As of now in Mexico, it's a state of chaos. Mexican security forces, after killing the drug lord in one of the most powerful operations in taking down the most criminal organization in the country, has triggered a wave of violence in several areas, including in the western state of Jalisco. The Mexican Secretariat of National Defense said Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, El Mencho, was wounded in a clash with soldiers in the town of Tapalpa on Sunday, and he died while being flown to the Mexico City. He had a bounty of $15 million on his head from the United States. Aditya is now connected with us. Aditya, take us through the details of other aides of El Mencho who've been taken down in this operation.
Kriti, if you see, there are separation by the U.S. Authorities, particular drug lord and is bring fentanyl and other sorts of drugs. We already know that Mexico has a great history of, pushing drugs and producing drugs. So completely at this juncture, Kriti, it is a very, very well-known fact that the top leadership of this drug cartel have been eliminated in this joint operation, and we could expect a further dent in the in the coming days, how this, whether this drug cartel would also now survive or it will dismantle, because now an operation targeting this particular drug cartel is on, and it needs to be seen how things unfold in this scenario. Kriti.
Right, Aditya, thanks very much. Do stay on with me, viewers. Mexico President Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo has urged the country to now stay calm after federal forces killed El Mencho. On Sunday, in her post on X, she said the government maintained full coordination with all states after the operation triggered blockades and violent reactions. She said most of the national territory functioned normally and praised the armed forces for their work toward peace and security. For that, let's take a look at what exactly is the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, how it operated, and the operations that it really carried out. Talking about the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG, was one of the most powerful, fastest growing criminal syndicates. Like we told you just a while ago, was founded in 2009-10 as a splinter from the Mencho Cartel. That is, of course, the formal name of El Mencho, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes. He was commonly and popularly known as El Mencho. Now, the primary accusations against him were that of smuggling fentanyl, that was a key concern for the United States. A major trafficker of fentanyl, methamphetamine, cocaine and heroin. Those were the drugs that he primarily smuggled into the United States. Also runs extortion. He ran extortion, fuel thefts and money laundering. Those are some of the primary criminal activities that he was accused of. Of course, the authorities in Mexico were planning to take him down. Now, was known for extreme violence and aggressive territorial expansion using military-style tactics, drones, and a franchisee model to affiliate with local groups there. El Mencho and his cartel, CJNG, was designated a foreign terrorist organization by the United States. Strongholds were in Jalisco State, Colima, Nayarit and beyond, but main rival to the cartel, to Sinaloa cartel, that also is a primary target of authorities now, and the US of course is working to take down that cartel as well. Ambassador Gauri Shankar Gupta continues to stay with us. Ambassador, really, we were talking about the state of chaos that Mexico has now really plunged into. How long do you think it will really take for a state of stability to return to Mexico?
I must tell you, Kriti, that in general there should be no problem. Only some specific areas have been affected because this cartel, El Mencho and his associates were more active in Jalisco province, which is in the center north of Mexico. and that area will be affected, but rest of the Mexico will not be impacted. Even in that area, certain cities, for example, some cities which have been mentioned in the news reports, they will be impacted, not others.
Yeah.
So we should not be scared that the entire Mexico will be under some sort of problem. But yes, one has to be very careful while traveling in Jalisco. Jalisco should be avoided at this moment. Nobody should travel there because El Mencho is only one leader. There are hundreds of people, maybe thousands, who are associated with him, and they will be active here and there. And some new leadership will emerge now because this is what has happened. Now, before El Mencho, there was another cartel, and before that, there was another cartel. I have seen at least 10 different cartels developing in Mexico in the last 20 years. So these cartels keep changing the name and the leadership, but the activities remain in place as it is. So I think the biggest danger is that the people who are on the ground, who are operating and who are involved in drug smuggling in that country, they may resort to violence here and there, and therefore one should be very careful while traveling. But so far as general law and order is concerned in the country, it's not a matter of concern, in my opinion. There are isolated incidents of kidnapping and extortion which have been happening since I know Mexico since 1992. I think these are common there. These do happen once a while, but these do not pose a serious issue on law and order, except that some people are actually kidnapped and taken, and extortion, some money is taken, ransom is asked for, because this is a criminal gang and they will keep doing it, and whenever they get a chance. So I think what we need to do is we need to monitor the activities of this cartel and their associates. And if they keep spreading, then obviously it's a matter of concern. But I feel in the next week or two, everything would settle down.
Ambassador, thanks very much for joining me in this discussion and for sharing your insights. Viewers, we also have Shruti Dasgupta, Foreign Affairs expert in this discussion with us. She joins us from New Delhi. Shruti, thanks very much. This, of course, is a big success for Mexico and also for the United States. Talk to us about how this is going to help the authorities in really taking down the entire cartel that was operating.
They've got the kingpin in all of this. The drug problem of Mexico is not a new one. And the previous president, I believe, his quote was "hugs, not bullets." But apparently, hugs didn't work because the drug production, synthetic as well as organic, is at an all-time high, as reported by the UN reports. So what this shows us that it was a chronic problem. Fentanyl, which was a major thing for USA, it was being sent through this particular cartel, which was operating on the behalf of the Colombian cartel. So this joint operation shows that Mexico is at least ready to address the evils of humanity, which is drug abuse as such. And Sheinbaum has decided to cooperate rather than oppose any action on this and take a very hard stance. So what is going to happen now is although it's a big victory to get the main head out by the military, but as you can see, there's chaos all over. What this is going to result in is a power vacuum, and that is going to, and as we know in these cartels, when there is a power vacuum, there's infighting happening, there is territory snatching that happens with other cartels as well in play. So there is going to be a situation of unrest for Mexico for a while, till the time the military is able to weed out all the major players in this and then try and curb down the activities of the cartels as a whole. It is not a single-day operation. There have been operations like this earlier also. You've reported on Mexico having working towards their drug problems. And I believe in the days to come, we'll see more reports where it will look as if it is going to be a bigger issue. But as long as people are careful not to associate themselves with these violence, are able to stay away from conflict zones, we should not have a major problem as a society. It is a military operation, it is a successful operation, but it is not as yet over. The cleanup is yet to be done.
Shruti, thanks very much for your insights. To continue to stay on with me as we now move ahead, viewers, let's also tell you that Indian embassies in Mexico has sent out an advisory. The embassy says avoid areas around law enforcement activity, be aware of your surroundings, seek shelter and minimize unnecessary movements outside your shelter, monitor local media for updates, following the directions of local authorities, and in case of an emergency, call 911. Avoid crowds, keep family and friends advised of your location and well-being via text, phone and social media. A helpline number has also been released to contact the Embassy of India. It's +525548477539, also flashing on your screens right now, viewers. Let's in fact take a look at the numbers of the Indians and the Indian community in Mexico. The Indian diaspora in Mexico is a very significant population group. There are approximately 8,000 NRIs, typically Indian citizens or recent migrants in Mexico. Combined with a person of Indian origins, the total overseas Indian population in Mexico is around 10,650. That's the estimate. Community has grown in recent years due to economic ties, particularly in technology, pharmaceuticals and business. A significant population of Indian diaspora in Mexico, about 10,000 people are there, and Indian authorities and Indian embassy in Mexico has of course issued an advisory for their well-being. Our expert ambassador Gauri Shankar Gupta, former diplomat, continues to stay with us in this discussion. Ambassador, of course, Indian government has issued an advisory for its citizens there in Mexico, but what can they really do to also not just safeguard themselves but also help the authorities?
Kriti, I think the problem is more for the US citizens because Jalisco is one area where a lot of Americans after their retirement, they go and settle down. There are large townships where Americans are living in their old age because they find Mexico cheaper and services better. So they go and settle down, and also the climatic conditions are better. Then also there are large number of Americans and Canadians who travel to Mexico during this time, and they go as tourists on the beaches. In Jalisco coast, there are many beaches, and therefore they stay there. So it is, more of an advisory to those guys who are stuck either on the beaches or who are living in that region, because these cartel people can take revenge against US citizens who are living there. So I think the Indians don't have to worry because the Indians are very safe in Mexico. They are considered with respect. They are given a lot of regard. I think we have a lot of cultural similarities between Mexicans and Indians. So the Indians don't have to worry too much, but still it is advised to everybody not to travel to Jalisco region, particularly Puerto Vallarta and that area where a lot of beaches are located. So that is the best approach to follow. But we don't have to panic at all because Indians, as I told you, are never the target in Mexico. I have seen that they are treated with respect. The targets are, if any, then that is the Americans, Europeans, and Canadians who have been living there in large number. I know a lot of people who settle down on those places because of the cost considerations, climatic considerations, and services in the old age. So these advisories are more for them, not for us. But for us, yes, obviously, we should avoid those regions of Jalisco where this situation is taking place, because obviously there would be clashes between security forces and supporters of El Mencho. And during those clashes, some people may become a victim in the process. So it's better to avoid traveling in that area.
All right, thank you very much, Ambassador, for joining me. Viewers, let's also tell you that after Mexico carried out a military operation, now against the cartel killing its leader, US President Donald Trump has made a cryptic post on Truth Social. He's writing on X, "We are winning too much. It's just not fair." President DJT, his initials, While the President of the United States did not make a mention of Mexico, several have claimed his post comes due to the operation against El Mencho. Since taking office in 2025, President Trump has placed strict measures and declared a national emergency along the southern border, the US-Mexico border, due to the influx of drugs and other narcotics. Trump has also threatened tariffs on Mexico if it failed to crack down on cartels in the country. Shruti Dasgupta is there with us in this discussion, foreign affairs expert from New Delhi. Shruti, of course, Trump being classic, taking credit for this operation, also the statement that had come in from his press secretary, Caroline Leavitt. They are saying that US, of course, provided crucial information to the Mexican authorities in carrying out this operation. How much of a role do you see for the United States here, and what kind of a big win is it really for Donald Trump?
Well, as you've correctly pointed out, Donald Trump loves to take credit for any kind of positive news happening across the world. Sometimes I wonder if people cooked good food on Donald J. Trump would put a toast, I made this, I happened. So he is a joke on himself. But unfortunately for the rest of the world, we do have to give him a little bit of credit here, because I do believe without the U.S. inputs and support and pressure, Mexico would probably not have taken such a hard stance on its drug problem. They've had spats of cleaning out operations, every few decades, but this particular operation is in place because of the U.S. pressures. It's the Venezuela moment ensured that the governments have had enough incentive, the political parties had enough incentive to actually put their military might to use against the drug problems that quake this particular route of that does supply to USA. So although Mexico is not Venezuela, but the pressure was there, and that pressure translated into action. The will of the people, I'm sure, stays with President Sheinbaum, but there is geopolitical pressure for this, and USA is primarily responsible for it. So apart from the intelligence part of it, there is also the threat of military action by USA directly. So either you do it or I'll clean your house for you action that Trump showed in Venezuela is something that is responsible for what is happening. So although I don't like the way he shares credit, but this particular moment can have a little bit of his influence as well as U.S. intelligence agencies a moment of victory, because they did manage to at least take out the head of a major crime hub. And now let's see how they continue to assist Mexico in trying to weed out the entire problem from that zone.
Shruti, thanks very much once again for joining me. And viewers, with that, we are going to wind up this bulletin on NewsX. But don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. News and updates continue right here.